Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Tuesday, the 9th of June. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Litoncala. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Now, first on the news, a powerful magnitude 7.8 earthquake rocked Mindanao, sending students, workers, and residents scrambling for safety as buildings swayed and structures crumbled. The tremor triggered widespread panic and caused significant damage to schools, businesses, transportation hubs, and other facilities across affected areas. President Bongbong Marcos has ordered a full government response, directing concerned agencies to intensify search and rescue operations, deliver immediate relief assistance, and conduct damage assessments in hard-hit communities. Power and communication services were also disrupted in several communities. The death toll has climbed to 37, with dozens injured and several others still missing. Well, of course, we were talking about this yesterday at naging cause nga daw nitong earthquake na to sa Mindanao is the Cotabato Trench, which also they have monitored in the past years. Talagang active ito, and parang a few weeks before this happened, there were movements na rin in Sultan Kudarat. And reports have also said na ito din yung same movement na nangyari nung 1976 Moro Gulf earthquake, which claimed more than 6,000 lives. So magnitude 8 yun.
Also in 2002 in southern Mindanao, same trench is linked to that also.
So it's really, really devastating. Our hearts go out to all those families affected. And so far, there have been 200 aftershocks already recorded, 200 and counting, because that's expected to last for weeks, maybe even months. So, of course, to all the residents in Mindanao, do stay alert still. Yeah. And some of the advice that officials have given is to stay away from buildings that already have cracks. Make sure to check your homes if there are any damages, and just to ensure the safety of everyone.
Well,
And
go ahead.
the tsunami warnings were already lifted yesterday afternoon yata. But there have been obviously thousands of families that were evacuated, and our hearts, our prayers all go out to our kababayans affected by this.
And we've seen that this powerful quake have prompted a lot of precautionary measures. There are class suspensions, diba? There are government or work stoppages. Tapos there are also inspection nga ng mga infrastructure, and people are advised to come inside the infrastructure unless it is safe, diba? Otherwise, doon na lang. And I was able to talk to the OCD earlier today, and kasi, di ba, there were a lot of videos circling around yesterday, and nakikita natin yung mga videos na, yung may mga, yan, tulad yan. This is the Mahayhay Elementary School. Fortunately, wala naman, nung bumagsak yung nasa likod nila, wala namang natamaan ng mga estudyante. And of course, we have to commend all the teachers there who remained calm at talagang they guided the students throughout of course, the ordeal. The other videos that we've seen online, tulad ng mga buildings that collapsed, yung merong radio station on top of it, until now, sabi naman nila, there were no people inside. And even the university building, it was already condemned even before the earthquake. So sabi nila, wala namang tao doon. But of course, there are 35 plus na recorded death ngayon, and other missing.
And syempre, we hope na the highways, the airports, kasi kailangan din yun for relief operations. Sana yung structural integrity masilip na, malaman kung makakadaan ng mga vehicles. And I think yung Jensan Airport yata was already, maraming flights na na-cancel na.
Well, so far, General Santos City has really been identified as the hardest hit area from this earthquake. And they actually still remain without power, and that really complicates the search and rescue operations, relief operations. So the focus now for the government is to really deploy generator sets, fuel supplies, in order to aid all these operations. And actually, sabi rin ni Dr. Bacolcol, FIVOX, that intensity 7, which was experienced in General Santos, Tulfos. That's already the highest intensity that could be reported, and it's considered destructive. And we did see, right, from the videos that the buildings collapsed, a lot of people were displaced. So hopefully our relief efforts could be swift, and a lot of people could be helped already.
But speaking of General Santos, the government has already declared state of calamity, meaning there will be faster access to emergency funds, and there will be price freeze, and of course yung mga accessible to calamity loans and other needs na kailangan ng residents doon. And lahat na, I think Alagang Kapatid Foundation is on top of this as well, and other organizations are, helping each other to reach the communities that are, who are in need of help, no?
All right, now in other news, following that strong earthquake, Senator Erwin Tulfo suspended the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's consultative meeting on alleged anomalous flood control projects. Tulfo said the meeting was suspended until further notice as a sign of respect and solidarity with the quake victims. Before the suspension, the panel discussed the absence of 18 men who claimed to be former Marines and allegedly served as couriers for kickbacks in government projects. They were at the Senate but did not attend Tulfo's meeting. They instead stayed at Senator Robin Padilla's office for a press conference. Tulfo also questioned the refusal to appear, saying it raises doubts about their credibility and intent. Senator Kiko Pangilinan said the panel may invite them again, and if they still refuse, subpoenas, contempt citations, and even arrest orders may follow once the committee is fully constituted. Senate President pro tempore Win Gatchalian also hit what he called drama, saying the Blue Ribbon meeting was the best venue for them to tell the truth. Right, so as we saw yesterday, the 18 alleged bagmen refused to participate in the consultative meeting of the Blue Ribbon Committee. They're calling it consultative meeting because the committee hasn't been constituted yet. They didn't elect yet or decide, finalize the committee members because of the leadership row, the issues happening right now at the Senate. That's why it's still a consultative meeting. But going back to the 18 bagmen, they refused to attend because of fears that they could be cited in contempt. But the main focus of the meeting yesterday was NBI Director Melvin Matibag dispelling the claims, allegations of the 18 bodyguards, individuals, saying it's based mostly on hearsay. Sabi niya 10 to 20% lamang ang based on personal knowledge. So that was the main focus.
And Attorney Baligod also said yesterday that the invitation is defective. Yung attendance daw nila was not to legitimize anybody or any office. And then may na-mention din na there will be another set of 14 former employees to testify at another Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. But this one led by the faction, presided over by APC naman daw.
Alam mo, they have to, resolve this once and for all as soon as possible, because you have to remember the SONA, the State of the Nation Address is, fast approaching. And kailangan dun, pag umupo yung presidente, meron dito yung Speaker of the House and of course the Senate President. So, sino uupo dito? Magkandungan sila dyan, di ba? Kailangan tapusin nila yan. But kidding aside, yesterday also, a lot of people are saying na there are some inconsistencies doon sa mga binibigay na statements ng 18 allegedly bagmen of former Speaker Martin Romualdez. And right now, the first time that they appeared on media, they said Senator Lauren Legarda was part of it, and right now, she's not part of it anymore. And there were also questions since the day first that they appeared also on TV about the involvement of Congresswoman Laila De Lima, when in fact at that time, the date that they were saying that Congresswoman Laila De Lima was there, in fact, she was not a congresswoman yet at that time. So there were a lot of consistencies. That's why sinasabi ni Attorney Melvin Matibag ng NBI na there are also evidence that would point out na they were paid, etc. But of course, yung mga persons or congressmen that were implicated in their statements are ready to file cases, one of which is Senator Erwin Tulfo. And sabi nga niya, he recognized na, okay, sige, it may be a conflict of interest, diba? If I preside the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, hindi na lang, I'll inhibit, so that these people, these alleged bagmen, would, attend the Blue Ribbon And, makisali dun sa investigation na to. Because once and for all, yun naman ang sinabi nila, di ba? Hindi naman daw fair kung siya yung magpe-preside doon. So, this time around, let's see kung pupunta sila kung hindi nakasama si Senator Erwin Tulfo as the presiding officer.
Because at the end of the day, the Blue Ribbon Committee could be used as Senator Sherwin Gatchalian said, the best venue for them to tell the truth. So if they want a platform, then do it, right? In this committee.
But also we have to wait for the next gathering because it was cut short nga yesterday in deference to everything that's been going on in Mindanao.
But ihabol ko lang din kasi yesterday I was reading this article about nga yung problema ng Senado, yung leadership nila, 'di ba? And it's interesting to note what former Associate Justice Carpio said na actually according to the anti-plunder law, automatic pala yung suspension ng isang taong may kasong plunder, which is si Senator Jinggoy Estrada. So in that case, sabi niya 12 can actually nominate or elect a Senate President. So ang daming mga nakikita natin na mga legalities in this situation. And like what I've said yesterday, yung kausap natin na political analyst, that when Senator Alan Peter Cayetano said that he believes he's with the truth, diba? Back with 3 books that he had with him, bakit until now hindi pa siya nag-challenge sa Supreme Court itong mga pangyayari? So we'll see what's going to happen.
All right. The Ateneo de Manila University has confirmed the deaths of 2 members of its men's basketball team following a drowning incident during a team-building activity in Dipaculao, Aurora. The university identified the fatalities as student-athletes Rene Clerc Baterbonia and Divine Adili. In a statement, Ateneo expressed deep sorrow over the tragedy and extended condolences to the bereaved families, friends, teammates, coaches, and the wider Ateneo community. It assured that support is being provided to the families of the 2 athletes as well as to teammates and others affected by the incident. The Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas also expressed its condolences and said it is coordinating with university officials to determine what assistance may be needed. This is every parent's worst nightmare. Well, the Police Regional Office 3 already said that initial findings indicate victims were swimming when they were reportedly carried by a strong current into deeper waters. But also they were asking people to refrain from sharing speculation and give authorities time to complete investigation. Baterbonia was only 19 years old. He just recently played in the Palarong Pamansa. He was expected to suit up for the Blue Eagles in season 89. He was last year's Palarong Pambansa MVP. He led Davao to a championship. He was also part of the squad that won gold in the 14th ASEAN School Games in Brunei last year. Adili, 21 years old, Nigerian foreign student athlete. We saw him in action in UAAP season 88. He's a big man, back-to-back high school titles for New Era University. He won MVP in his last 2 years with New Era. Outside of the accolades, outside of the achievements, these are sons, these are friends, these are brothers, and our deepest condolences to the families and loved ones.
Of course, we really sympathize with the families of Adili and Baterbonia during this very difficult time. This was, of course, unexpected, and at the end of the day, no one really wants anyone to die, right? In any kind of activity, but it's very unfortunate, and we send our heartfelt condolences to.
As a mom, it really pains me to see, diba, all the videos that were circulating online, how Baterbonia and his mom are really close. They have a strong family tie, and talagang ramdam mo yung kurot Ramdam mo yung kurot. So yeah, we pray for the souls of them.
All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The death toll from the magnitude 7.8 earthquake off Sarangani in Mindanao has now risen to 37, and that's based on data from the Office of Civil Defense as of 6 a.m. today. Authorities continue assessing damage across affected provinces as emergency teams conduct inspections and response operations. More details in this report.
As the ground shook violently, students and teachers immediately took cover in an open field at Mahayahay Elementary School in Malita, Davao Occidental. Panic spread as strong tremors rattled the area, forcing students to scramble for safety while teachers shouted instructions for everyone to remain calm. At Matanaw National High School in Davao del Sur, a flag ceremony was underway when the magnitude 7.8 quake struck. Students quickly ran out of classrooms and moved to a covered court for safety. Moments of fear unfolded as part of a school building collapse, prompting cries of alarm from those nearby. Authorities later confirmed that the collapsed structure had been abandoned since 2019 after being damaged by a previous earthquake. In Santa Cruz National High School, some students suffered panic attacks with several faintings as the shaking intensified. Others sustained minor injuries during the evacuation. Meanwhile, at Notre Dame of Dandiangas University, parts of a building were also damaged, with reports showing structural movement caused by the powerful tremor. In General Santos City, a fast food restaurant was heavily jolted, sending dust and debris into the air as customers and workers rushed outside for safety. At the city's airport, passengers were seen panicking as ceiling sections were damaged and belongings were scattered across the terminal, forcing flight disruptions. In one commercial area, parts of a small structure were damaged, with visible debris falling as the tremor struck. Authorities continued to assess the full extent of damage across affected provinces as emergency teams conduct inspections and response operations. More than 200 aftershocks have already been monitored, with seismic activity expected to continue for weeks or even months, according to FIVOLCS.
Isa pa po sa nating paghandaan, yung pagkakaroon po ng mga aftershock. So sa ganito pong kalakas na lindol, i-expect po natin magkakaroon pa po ng mga aftershocks. Posible pong tumagal ito ng ilang linggo or ilang buwan.
Out in other news, motorists will have to pay more for petroleum products as another round of fuel price hikes takes effect today, June 9. According to the Department of Energy, diesel prices will increase by 3 pesos and 77 centavos to 5 pesos and 77 centavos per liter. Gasoline may either roll back by 1 peso and 70 centavos per liter or increase by up to 30 centavos per liter. The Energy Department said the adjustments reflect recent movements in global oil markets. Now, as fuel costs continue to eat into the daily income of drivers, hundreds of PUV drivers receive help in the form of diesel vouchers. Mobile journalist Evan Tarinque has this report.
Hundreds of public utility vehicle drivers receive fuel vouchers that could help support their daily operations.
A large portion of drivers' earning goes to fuel expenses. In March this year, prices of petroleum products rose again following escalating tensions in the Middle East. For many drivers, every increase in fuel prices means lower income, as it directly affects their daily trips and livelihood. This is why last Friday, around 200 drivers received 1,000 peso diesel voucher each under the Maka-Filipino program of market research survey platform Tangere.
Kailangan na po ng mga kapatid po nating jeepney drivers at tricycle drivers itong Maka-Filipino project. Kaya kahit sariling gastos namin, kahit mawalan kami ng kita, bibigay po namin sa inyo lahat to para makatulong po sa inyo.
One of the beneficiaries was Carlos, who immediately used the voucher to purchase more than 12 liters of diesel. With fuel expenses already covered, he estimates that he can take home an additional 700 to 1,000 pesos, money that would otherwise have been spent on diesel.
Gagamitin ko na po, bibiyahe na po ako. Ayan, kikita kami niyan. Dahil hindi na ako nagkukurodo Gabi na ulit kurodo namin yan
Jeepney driver Akiling Sayaman also couldn't hide his smile after receiving the assistance. He said the voucher would help reduce his operating expenses and increase the income he and his wife bring home.
Malaking tulong din po sa amin. So,
bilang jeepney driver po. Sobra-sobra na po, pati boundary kay misis. Oo po, wala.
Some drivers hope similar programs will continue as they grapple with the rising cost of making a living. Aside from distributing fuel vouchers, the organization also conducted face-to-face interviews to identify the primary concerns and needs of drivers.
Sana po makita po natin sa data na to, mapinpoint natin yung, ang lagi namin sinasabi, actionable insights na makakatulong po sa kanila. Yun po yun.
Kapatid Mobile Journey Ivan Tarinque, we are One News.
The magnitude 7.8 earthquake left a trail of destruction in Mindanao, particularly in General Santos City. And now let's check the situation on the ground with our mobile journalist, Ivan Tarinque. Ivan, kamusta na ang sitwasyon dyan? All right, well, we are having problems with our connection with Ivan, who is reporting in General Santos City. We're going to try that again. Ivan, can you hear us okay? All right, well, we will check in once again with our mobile journalists later on in the program. But in other news, a new genetically modified rice variety or variant has cleared a key biosafety hurdle in the Philippines. The Bureau of Plant Industry says it designed to contain more iron and zinc. Mobile journalist Ray Vicente has this report.
Heads up for farmers and consumers. The Bureau of Plant Industry has issued a biosafety permit for the commercial propagation of Hyzer 39 genetically modified rice. Hyzer 39 rice aims to address 30 to 40% of daily iron and zinc needs of the target demographics. This particularly includes children below ages of 5, pregnant and lactating women.
Kung i-compare to sa regular rice, yung high iron and zinc rice or tinatawag natin na Hyzer, it contains about 5 times more iron and twice as much zinc. And it is intended as a complementary intervention to help address anemia and stunting, and it aims to provide 30% of the estimated average requirement or EAR for iron and 40% EAR for zinc among target populations.
The target zinc and iron levels was achieved using genes from rice and species of Asian wild apple, known as Malus baccata.
We do not expect it to pose greater risk to human and animal health or the environment. Furthermore, during the public consultation po, wala rin pong na-receive ang BPI na any objections. Yung human body natin, it needs iron to make hemoglobin and myoglobin. While zinc naman po, on the other hand, activates enzymes of protein metabolism and serves as cofactor for up to 300 enzymes in the human body.
Biosafety approval signifies that the product is safe for distribution and consumption, yet its availability in the Philippine market is still not up at the moment.
At the moment, ang alam ko po, yung PhilRice is not yet deploying this product since meron pa silang internal, I think seed increase po. Nag-continue yung breeding nila and yung field development.
With the seed multiplication and registration in waiting line, the Bureau echoed that Hyzer 39 will not directly affect the rice production in the country. It is only designed to complement existing efforts to control iron and zinc deficiencies of the Filipinos.
Itong Hyzer is not expected to adversely affect current rice production, yung trade or consumption in the Philippines, or yung agricultural practices na gagawin ng mga farmers dito sa high iron and zinc rice. It's just the same. So, and also yung cultural management, agricultural practices or production, it will not differ from the conventional one.
Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
Now going back to our top story, the magnitude 7.8 earthquake left a trail of destruction in Mindanao, particularly in General Santos City. And now we check in on the situation on the ground with mobile journalist Ivan Tarinque. Ivan, kamusta ang sitwasyon dyan?
Pauline, bukas pa nga rin yung matinding epekto ng magnitude 7.8 na lindol dito sa General Santos City. Maraming mga gusali, gaya na nga lang din yung nasa likuran ko, yung mga nasira dito nga sa General Santos. No, sa pinakahuling tala nga ng City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office o CDRMO, umabot na sa nasa 66 na mga gusali ang nasira dahil sa malakas na pagyanig. No, pinakamarami sa mga ito
All right, but we will check in once again with our mobile journalist, Ivan Tarinque, later on. But for now, thank you very much for that report. That was Ivan Tarinque reporting live from General Santos City. Right, and when we return later at 9:30 a.m., we speak to Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative and House Prosecution Panel spokesperson Zia Alonto Adyong live in the studio. But don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Sige, decide now what you want to do. Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. You're looking at a live shot there at the Philippine Statistics Authority, where any moment now, National Statistician Claire Dennis Mapa reveals the April 2026 Labor Force Survey. To recall, joblessness eased to 5% in March from 5.1% in February, despite pressures from the Middle East conflict and higher oil prices. Let's take a listen.
James B. Nino, ang inyong moderator for today's press briefing. Bago natin simulan ang ating press conference, gusto namin ipahayag na ito ay naka-livestream sa PSA Facebook at TikTok pages. Updates are also posted on the PSA X or Twitter with the hashtag PHEmployment. Ikinagagalak ko pong ipakilala si PSA Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa, National Statistician and Civil Register General, na siyang mag-uulat tungkol sa mga paunang resulta ng Labor Force Survey nitong nakalipas na buwan ng Abril 2026. Ating pakinggan ang report ni Yusek Mapa.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority mag-uulat ng labor and employment statistics base sa paunang resulta ng Abril 2026 Labor Force Survey. Ang pagkalap ng datos para sa Abril 2026 Labor Force Survey ay ginawa sa loob ng 20 araw mula ika-8 hanggang ika-30 ng Abril nitong taon. Nitong Abril 2026, 45,076 ang total sample households na na-survey ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Samantala, 176,471 naman ang total sample households na na-survey noong Enero 2026 at 44,536 noong Abril ng 2025. Sa populasyon na 15 taong gulang pataas, ang bilang sa labor force o mga individual na employed o unemployed ay umabot sa 51.30 million nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa naitalang bilang noong Abril 2025 na nasa 50.74 million at noong Enero 2026 na nasa 50.89 million. Ang labor force participation rate nitong Abril 2026 ay tinatayang nasa 62.7%. Ito ay mas mababa kumpara sa labor force participation rate noong Abril 2025 na nasa 63.7%, ngunit bahagyang mas mataas kumpara noong Enero 2026 na nasa 62.3%. Nitong Abril 2026, ang bilang ng employed persons o mga nasa labor force na may trabaho o negosyo ay naitala sa 48.89 million. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara noong Abril 2025 na nasa 48.67 million at noong Enero 2026 na nasa 47.94 million. Ang employment rate nitong Abril 2026 ay tinatayang nasa 95.3%. Ito ay bahagyang mas mababa kumpara sa naiulat noong Abril 2025 na nasa 95.9%, ngunit mas mataas naman kung ikukumpara noong Enero 2026 na nasa 94.2%. Ang bilang ng unemployed persons o mga nasa labor force na walang trabaho o negosyo nitong Abril 2026 ay umabot sa 2.41 million. Ito ay tumaas ng 351,000 kaysa naitala noong Abril 2025, ngunit bumaba naman ng 541,000 sa bilang ng unemployed noong Enero 2026. Ang unemployment rate ay tinatayang nasa 4.7% o 47 sa bawat 1,000 na individual na nasa labor force ang walang trabaho o negosyo nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa naitalang unemployment rate noong Abril 2025 na nasa 4.1%, ngunit mas mababa naman kumpara noong Enero 2026 na nasa 5.8%. Ang bilang ng underemployed o mga employed na nagpapahayag ng pagnanais na magkaroon ng karagdagang trabaho, karagdagang oras ng trabaho o kaya magkaroon ng bagong trabaho na may mas mahabang oras ay umabot sa 7.41 million nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa naitalang bilang ng underemployed noong Abril 2025 na nasa 7.09 million at noong Enero 2026 na nasa 6.35 million. Ang underemployment rate nitong Abril 2026 ay naitala sa 15.2% o 15 sa bawat 100 na individual na may trabaho o negosyo ay underemployed. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa naiulat na underemployment rate noong Abril 2025 na nasa 14.6% at noong Enero 2026 na nasa 13.2%. Kung atin namang susuriin ang mga datos ayon sa kasarian ng labor force participation rate ng mga kalalakihan ay umabot sa 73.9% nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay nanatiling mas mataas kumpara sa labor force participation rate ng mga kababaihan na nasa 51.3%. Ang employment rate ng mga kalalakihan ay naitala sa 95.3% nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay bagyang mas mataas kumpara sa employment rate ng mga kababaihan na nasa 95.2%. Samantala, ang unemployment rate ng mga kababaihan ay nasa antas na 4.8% nitong Abril 2026. Ito ay bahagyang mas mataas kumpara sa naitalang unemployment rate ng mga kalalakihan na nasa 4.7%. Sa mga employed na kalalakihan nitong Abril 2026, 16.9% sa kanila ay underemployed. Higit na mas mataas ito kumpara sa underemployment rate ng mga kababaihan na naitala sa 12.7%. Kung atin namang susuriin ang mga datos mula sa riyon ng bansa, ang SOC Sargent ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamataas na labor force participation rate na nasa 67.1% nitong Abril 2026. Sa kabilang banda, ang Bicol Region ang may pinakamababang labor force participation rate na nasa 57.6%. Siyam na riyon ang nakapagdala ng pagtaas ng labor force participation rate nitong Abril 2026 kumpara noong Enero 2026. Ito ay ang Ilocos Region, Bicol Region, Western Visayas, Negros Island Region, Central Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Davao Region, Soc-Sargen at Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Pagdating naman sa employment rate, ang Davao Region ang nakapagdala ng may pinakamataas na employment rate na nasa 97.5%, habang ang Bicol Region naman ay may pinakamababang employment rate na nasa 93.2% nitong Abril 2026. Nitong Abril 2026, sa 18 riyon, 15 ang nakapagtala ng pagtaas ng employment rate. Ito ang mga riyon ng National Capital Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Ilocos Region, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa Region, Bicol Region, Negros Island Region, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, Caraga at Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Kung susuriin naman ang unemployment rate mula sa mga riyon, ang Bicol Region ang may pinakamataas na unemployment rate na nasa 6.8%. Samantala, ang Davao Region ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamababang unemployment rate na nasa 2.5% nitong Abril 2026. Tatlong riyon ang nagtala ng pagtaas ng unemployment rate nitong Abril. Ito ang Cagayan Valley, Western Visayas at Soc-Sargen. Pagdating naman sa underemployment rate nitong Abril 2026, ang Western Visayas ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamataas na antas na nasa 31.8%, habang ang Davao Region ang may pinakamababang underemployment rate na nasa 5.6%. Pitong riyon.
Undersecretary Mapa reporting on the April 2026 Labor Force Survey. To recap, the Philippines' April unemployment rate comes in at 4.7%. This translates to around 2.41 million jobless Filipinos for the month. Employment rate is at 62.7% or 511.3 million. Underemployment stands at 15.2% or 7.41 million Filipinos. In other news, at least 37 people have died after a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck off the coast of Mindanao on Monday. As of 6 a.m. today, Philippine time, the Office of the Civil Defense reported 33 deaths in Soc-Sargen and 4 in the Davao region. Of the total in Region 12, 18 were from Sarangani, 12 from General Santos City, and 3 from South Cotabato. Authorities said the figures are still being validated. The powerful quake struck at 7:37 a.m. Monday off the coast of Sarangani and was traced to movement along the Cotabato Trench. It damaged buildings and critical infrastructure, triggered a landslide in Glan Sarangani, and prompted tsunami warnings across parts of southern Mindanao. President Bongbong Marcos has ordered a full government response, directing concerned agencies to intensify search and rescue operations, deliver immediate relief assistance, and conduct damage assessments in hard-hit communities. Meantime, FIVOC said more than 200 aftershocks have already been monitored, with seismic activity expected to continue for weeks or even months.
Ang inaasahan po natin ay at least po sa mga darating na araw o kaya po ilang linggo, makakaranas po o makaka-record po tayo ng mga aftershocks. Pwede rin pong umabot po ito ng ilang buwan dahil nga po sa lakas ng earthquake na ito. May kakayahan po ito actually na yung pong hindi nasira, nasira po pero hindi napabagsak nung main shock. Yung mga ganito pong kalakas, mga magnitude 7, kaya pa po niyang dagdagan pa yung damage na yun nga po na na-generate nung main shock.
Motorists face another round of fuel price hikes today, June 9. Sea Oil and other oil companies announced an increase of 30 centavos per liter for gasoline. Diesel prices went up by as much as 5 pesos and 77 centavos per liter, while kerosene rose by 8 pesos and 10 centavos per liter. The price adjustments took effect at 6 a.m. Philippine time. This comes after last week's big-time rollback. Industry sources earlier cited stalled diplomatic talks and prolonged supply disruptions linked to the Middle East conflict as among the factors behind this week's movement. The Energy Department, however, assures the public that the country's fuel inventory remains sufficient for now. The Energy Department's Green Energy Auction program is now on its way for making 35% of our power sources renewable energy. But some challenges brought about by the Middle East conflict. Our mobile journalist, Fatima Baduria, has this report.
As the Philippines continue to grapple with the energy crisis, the government is turning to offshore wind as a power source. While remaining chained to conventional energy sources, the Department of Energy says stronger collaboration among stakeholders is critical to meet renewable energy targets. The DOE's fifth Green Energy Auction Program, or JA5, is now in its infrastructure plan evaluation phase for 9 developers of offshore wind projects who passed the initial review. This is part of the government's efforts to reach the target of having 35% renewable energy share in the country's power source by 2030. Today, it sits at 25%, while coal has 57% share. But the development of offshore wind projects faces challenges.
Building a sustainable and thriving offshore wind ecosystem requires more than just technology alone. It requires collaboration, investment in people, and supportive policies. Now, two of the most requirement or support that is needed is both the transmission line, because they say there will be no transition without transmission, and of course ports play a critical role in the developing the offshore wind projects.
According to the Philippine Ports Authority, rising prices due to the Middle East conflict has made port upgrades more difficult to finance.
Well, it's a huge problem because if you have identified 6 or 5 ports, we are just identified 2 ports. Because as you all know, I think everybody knows that it's a huge investment for ports to be constructed. We're talking about billions, not just millions.
When offshore wind is established as an industry in the Philippines, the Global Wind Energy Council says it can ultimately lower consumer prices.
When you look at offshore wind, it is anchored in the seabed of the country. There is no fuel to buy, there is no supply to be disrupted, there are no commodity markets to be volatile. It delivers with certainty for up to 30 years through wars, pandemics, and financial crisis.
The DOE currently has 95 auctioned wind projects with a total potential capacity of 72 gigawatts. Meanwhile, the qualified bidders for JA5 are set to be revealed by July 3, with offshore wind projects expected to go online by 2030. Kapatid, Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
Joining us is Nomura's chief ASEAN economist, Yuben Paracuellos, who's been monitoring the labor force survey data released from his Singapore office. It's good seeing you again, Yuben. Welcome back to the program.
Hey, morning, Kathy, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, unemployment rates come in 4.7%, but underemployment rose to 7.41 million. And this is a month in to the Middle East conflict. What do you make of the results, Yuben?
Yeah, in terms of the overall unemployment rate decline compared to January, that's a little bit encouraging, and I would say somewhat surprising given the the situation in the Middle East and the impact on the domestic economy already. But just not having seen yet the details, but I would reckon that the improvement is partly because of the turnaround in government spending. So as I've noted in a report earlier, non-interest government expenditures have picked up already after being negative in terms of growth for a good part of last year and early this year as well. So there is a little bit of a turnaround, and spending has kicked back in, and maybe some projects are already coming on stream, and that's creating a little bit more of employment opportunities and some spillovers potentially into some of the related private sector players.
Yeah, but we've got another variable here to consider on Philippine jobs. It's China. I mean, Nomura's recent work flags the Philippines as one of the most vulnerable in Asia to a wave of cheaper Chinese exports. Where exactly do you see the biggest pressure points in terms of jobs? Is it in garments, electronics, auto parts?
Yeah, Kathy, I think this is a long-term problem. It's not going to show up immediately in the unemployment numbers. So we call this at Nomura some interconnected shifts that's happening in Asia. So you mentioned China shock. We're now in version 2.0 actually, because this could be worse than what we've seen a few years back. So what we're essentially seeing is there's a lot of excess capacity, industrial capacity in China, and of course with the trade tensions with the U.S., that excess capacity is needing to find markets elsewhere. And Southeast Asia has been a recipient of that, but unfortunately for some of these smaller countries, what that means is it's not just disinflationary pressure, but also strong competitive pressures, even for manufacturing and labor-intensive sectors, right? So we put that together in a scorecard in that report across Asian countries, and together with Indonesia and Thailand, Philippines come out on top of that vulnerability scorecard. In contrast, Malaysia and places like India look a little bit more resilient.
Now, prior to the China shock, Ben, I know you'd already warned that the Philippines was at risk of stagflation this year. That's weak growth with still above target inflation. How has that core story evolved with a slower than forecast or expected May inflation print? We've seen headline CPI falling back to 6.8%.
Yeah, I think it's still a risk, but I would say since the last we spoke, that risk has kind of eased off a little bit. So as I said before, growth is looking like it's on an improving trajectory because of a return of fiscal spending. But then in terms of inflation, if as you said, the May print was actually surprising to the downside. I did not expect actually a very strong pickup. I was only forecasting a mild increase to 7.3, but even that was much higher than the actual 6.8. So this is really a reprieve in the sense that this is because of the drop in retail fuel prices. And our assumption from here, even at on average Brent crude at 98, the trajectory is such that we're expecting a sort of a stabilization, if not a further decline in fuel prices. So on a headline basis, I've actually revised my forecast for CPI. So I was at 6.1 for the full year. I brought it back down to 5.5. Again, based on these factors. But what I would note is CPI inflation has likely peaked, but not core inflation. So if you strip out energy and food, there are still certain items in the core basket that's driving core inflation higher. I think that's going to play out for the next few months. And again, this is partly because of the quick pass-through from still elevated energy prices, even though declining, to items that are sensitive to energy inputs, things like restaurants and accommodation and the like. So I think that's still going to play out in the next few months and keeping core inflation rising instead of before it starts peaking maybe in Q4. So yeah, BSP will have to stay on guard.
Okay, final point. Are you going to go for 25 or 50? And is it happening on June 18 or before?
Yeah, I've always been of the view that BSP will keep a measured approach. And with this drop in headline CPI reading, I think that doesn't require an aggressive increase in the pulse rate. But then, of course, at these levels, it's still very much above the 2 to 4% target of BSP. So I think they'll still have to continue with the hiking cycle. So I'm going with 25, and I don't think they're going to do anything on the off cycle. We're not too far away from June 18. Like I said, the headline inflation reprieve is going to reduce the risk of them going more aggressive.
All right, we'll keep tabs to 25 then. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been Paracuelias of Nomura live in Singapore. And you're watching Money Talks. Coming up, we'll take a look at the situation in General Santos City following a magnitude 7.8 quake. And a new documentary series is set to bring the stories of Filipino soldiers to the forefront. Keep it here on One News. Sir Ivan. Ivan, good morning. Magandang umaga. Kamusta ka
Hi,
dyan?
Miss Cathy.
Kailan ka
Okay naman
dumating?
po. Kagabi po.
Kagabi. Okay, was everything okay or may aftershocks?
Well, so far, wala naman po aftershocks na nararamdaman. Just yung mga infrastructures just
Got that.
destroyed lang.
Anong location mo? Lagyan ka namin locator.
Jensen po.
Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Kat Yang. One of our top stories, the reported death toll from the magnitude 7.8 earthquake in Mindanao hits 37. Let's check the situation on the ground with our mobile journalist Evan Tarinque live from General Santos City. So, kamusta na ang sitwasyon diyan, Evan?
Cathy, bakas pa rin nga yung matinding epekto ng magnitude 7.8 na lindol dito sa General Santos City. No? Maraming mga gusali ang mga nagtamo ng pinsala habang libu-libong mga residente ang patuloy na humaharap sa hamon na dulot ng sakuna. Sa pinakahuling talanga ng City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office o CDRMO, umabot na sa 66 ang mga gusali ng sira dahil sa malakas na pagyanig. Pinakamarami sa mga ito ang mga paaralan na merong 14 na strukturang nagtamo ng pinsala. 13 naman ang naitalang nasawi habang 144 ang nasugatan at 4 pa ang patuloy na pinaghahanap ng mga otoridad. According to CDRMO, nasa 1,830 families rin ang naapektuhan ng lindol. Patuloy naman nakahanda ang mga rescuer para sa mga sinasagawang search and rescue operation para sa mga nawawalang individual. Samantala, ayon sa ilang mga residente na aming nakausap, nararanasan pa rin nila ang mga kakulangan sa supply ng kuryente at malinis na tubig. Inaasahan nila na baka sa mga ilang araw pa bago muling maibalik ang mga pangunahing serbisyong ito, nakahanda na rin ang mga relief goods ng DSWD na naka-imbak sa kanilang field office. At inaasahang ipapamahagi ang mga ito sa mga apektadong pamilya sa mga susunod na oras. Si DPWH Secretary Vince Tison sa iba't iba pang mga struktura na nasira gaya nga nung sa may San Jose Tibuli Road at sa may sa General Santos yan at iba pang mga struktura na nasira dahil nga dun sa epekto ng paglindol. Kathy?
Okay, maaliwalas ang panahon pero mag-ingat po kayo dyan. Our mobile journalist, Evan Tarinque, reporting live from General Santos City. And a quick check on the Philippine peso. Let's see how that's open this Tuesday. It is a tad stronger, 61.65 on Monday to close at 61.69 against the greenback. Preliminary Bangko Sentral data showed the country's gross international reserves stood at nearly $104 billion at the end of May. This was the lowest GIR level since January of last year. And the local stock market fell back to the 5,800 level Monday as escalating tensions in the Middle East weighed on investor sentiment. PSCI fell by about 1% to close at 5,879. The broader all-shares index likewise ended lower, while all sectoral gauges closed in the red. Meanwhile, the 10-year government bond yields inched up to 7.532% from the previous close of 7.529%. And before we go, a new documentary series is set to bring the stories of Filipino soldiers to the forefront. Mobile journalist Jazz Paredes tells us more.
Second Lieutenant Mateo Guidicelli continues to prove that patriotism goes beyond words. Apart from being a Philippine Army reservist, he has consistently demonstrated his commitment to serving the country. Now, Mateo embarks on another significant mission, bridging the world of public influence and public service.
This advocacy started approximately 7 years ago when I joined the Philippine Army and I went through the Scout Ranger orientation course. After that day, I said to myself, I promise and I vow to tell the story of every single soldier.
Now, Mateo is fulfilling that promise. In a ceremonial partnership signing, Mateo, Signal, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines formalized a collaboration that aims to bring the stories of Filipino soldiers to a wider audience. The agreement paves the way for the launch of Patriots, a documentary series that brings viewers closer to the real-life experiences of the men and women of the AFP. Patriots with Mateo Guidicelli is a first-of-its-kind docu-anthology series that shines a light on the courage, sacrifice, duty, and heroism of Filipino soldiers. Present during the signing ceremony were MQuest Holdings President Victorico P. Vargas, and AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo S. Bronner Jr.
Why did we do this? It's good timing. I think it's good timing that we show our fellow Filipinos unheard of heroes, people who die for the country, heroes that make us proud, heroes that we don't know, and their stories to uplift the current situation and to see what real love for country is.
We have a very rich military history. We have a very rich military heritage. And sayang naman kung hindi natin maipamahagi, lalong-lalo na po sa mga kabataan.
During a preview of the series teaser, several AFP personnel were featured, including Major Juliza May Beran, Colonel Andrew Bacala, Sergeant Antonino Basa, Captain Earl June Atuch, Major Jerome Hacuba, Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla, Major Bala Tamayo, Major Gestoni Labarosa, and General Alberto Macayrol. Each story highlights their grit, determination, and sacrifices as they dedicate their lives to defending the country's sovereignty and protecting the Filipino people.
The teaser is awesome, it's cool, very emotional, but I'm looking forward to see a lot of them and telling more stories and doing more, kumbaga. Kasi marami pa mga kwento na kailangan sabihin at sana padaan-dahan magagawa natin. General Browner said, sana isang bata will say, "Uy, pa, ma, gusto kong mag-sundalo."
Mateo also looks forward to featuring more AFP personnel in future episodes, including pilots, combat medics, doctors, and engineers. Patriots with Mateo Guidicelli will premiere on June 13 at 6 p.m. exclusively on One News. Kapatid Jas Paredes, we are One News.
Looking forward to watching Patriots this weekend on this channel. That is it for Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Have a great day ahead.
Good morning mga kapatid, I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro. You are watching Morning Matters here on One News. The House Prosecution Panel says Vice President Sara Duterte's response to the Senate summons for her impeachment trial amounts to a non-answer, focusing on technicalities instead of directly addressing the allegations against her. Mobile Journal Amy Atienza reports.
The 11-member House Prosecution Panel already submitted their response on the answer of Vice President Sara Duterte on her impeachment summons. Unnecessary to file a reply, the manifestation read. Lawmakers viewed the answer of the Vice President as a non-answer, which means that there were no clear explanations and the like regarding the allegations put against her. Once again, the VP focused on the technicalities of the proceedings done by the lower chamber. House Lead Prosecutor Jervy Luistro says that the impeachment trial should continue regardless.
From my last recollection, 74% ng mga Pilipino ang gustong-gustong matuloy na itong impeachment trial na ito. And remember, the allegations in the present articles of impeachment are the same allegation in the articles of impeachment back in the 19th Congress. Ibig sabihin, we are dealing with the same questions on threat, confidential fund, bribery, and unexplained wealth. Which means, simula 19th Congress hanggang sa oras na ito, wala pa pong naririnig na kasagutan ang sambayanang Pilipino.
Further, the House sent a letter on Monday morning to the office of Secretary Renato Bantug Jr., who is under the leadership of Acting Senate President Win Gatchalian. Luistro added that a special session may be called upon by the upper chamber for the senators to discuss and possibly elect an impeachment presiding officer other than Acting SP Gatchalian. The most crucial part is for the senator judges to be physically present during the trial.
It is therefore my humble position na dapat present lahat ng 24 senators. That is, they are intending to respond to their constitutional mandate. Sa proseso ng pagpapalawak ng political participation, in-encourage din natin yung lahat na magkaroon ng sariling live streams. No? I'm sure meron yan sa ating mga bahay, sa classrooms, pero magtipon din tayo sana para pag-usapan yung issue. Beyond, syempre, sa pagbasa ng updates at pagbasa ng interpretations, tayo mismo ay gumawa ng sarili nating critical na pagtanggap doon sa mga nangyayari.
The prosecution team also expects to receive the official notice about the filing of the pretrial brief, the start of the pretrial conference, and the start of the trial itself within the week. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
Joining us now is the Now del Sur 1st District Representative Zia Alonto Adyong, spokesperson of the House Prosecution Panel. Congressman Adyong, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Angela, and thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
Nice to see you in person, finally.
Yeah.
We would always talk in Zoom.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, so Congressman, the House Prosecution Panel says the Vice President's answer was a non-answer.
Yeah.
So why do you think so?
Well, because there's no need for the House prosecution to submit its pleading, because technically what they have been saying all along is questioning the procedure, the constitutionality of the entire process. So we've heard that since last year, and we've been hearing that during the press conference of the defense team. So there's no substantive substantive arguments or counter arguments that they have actually supplied in their answers to the articles of impeachment. It was purely procedural and constitutional objections. So there's no point for the House prosecution team to actually, supply pleadings, answer or comment on the answer of the Vice President, because what the Vice President and her legal team wants is actually an outright dismissal of the case on the basis of, procedural, technical, and constitutional objections.
Which is the impeachment court cannot do because their only mandate is to the trial.
The Constitution is very clear. The Senate, once it has taken jurisdiction over the articles of impeachment, and if the Senate has already convened, in this case they already did convene as an impeachment court, the only way to move forward is to hear in full trial, open trial, the evidence that are to be presented by both camps, the prosecution and the defense. And then after the trial, the only way to terminate the impeachment trial is to render judgment, which is either to acquit or to convict. There's no option there that the Senate, acting as impeachment court, is given the power to outright dismiss the case.
So what happens now if this means that you are not going, or the House Prosecution Panel is not going to submit a reply? So what happens next? Take us through the process.
Yeah, the next process would be the pre-trial conference. And I believe that the Senate has already indicated the dates for the pre-trial conference and for the actual impeachment trial, which would be on July 6, if I'm not mistaken. So come next week, we are hoping and we're expecting that the court will convene for the pre-trial conference, so that the House prosecution team would be able also to submit the evidence and also to submit the list of the names of our potential witnesses. So basically, the pre-trial conference is the laying down the ground rules and for the people to know what would be the flow of the trial would be.
So Should the public expect more evidence at this point and more personalities that are going to testify in the impeachment trial?
What I can tell you, Angela, is that the House prosecution team has solid evidence and attachments, documents that would prove that these are not taken just anywhere else, but these are official copies from agencies, and we also would present witnesses that can corroborate these material attachments of evidences, of evidence rather.
Right. So among the 4 articles of impeachment, which do you think is the, carries the more weight in the evidence and that would actually convince undecided, on this part?
Well, all the 4 articles naman, Angela, have solid basis and have a solid evidence. But what I can tell you for the public to easily understand is one, the threat. You cannot just go around and threat somebody, diba? That's a no-no. Even if you're not holding any elective position, you cannot simply do that. Civility would demand that you should not be cursing other people, diba? By saying that I will have you killed is also an indication that you do not trust the legal system and our justice system. And for a public officer and a public official, with that position that she has already obtained, she's the next in rank to the president, and then, threatening assassination to a sitting president, a first lady, and a speaker, would even give more, in terms of gravity of the penalty, would even give her more reason to explain to the public. That's very clear, no? Sinabi niya yon for the public to see. Second is the unexplained wealth. There are, from the AMLA records, there are quite a number of deposits to her account, which apparently were not reflected in her SALN. And if you go back to the SALN from 2019, because she had already prepared her SALN during her mayorship in Davao City, and then you compare that in 2029, there was no what you call this? Yes, report in her SALN that would dun sa cash on hand niya. So meaning to say, from 2019 up to present, wala siyang cash on hand, which does not coincide with the AMLA reports, with the bank records that the banks that have already supplied to the AMLA, and so these are things that for the public to easily understand, because how come during your tenure as mayor of Davao City you were able to submit completely your SALN, and then later on when you became vice president, suddenly it did not reflect in your SALN the cash on hands. So there's
inconsistencies.
Not only inconsistency, but the public deserves to know the full detail of this.
Now, there are talks that Senator Chis Escudero will actually preside the impeachment trial. Okay, these are just talks, no? Right now, there are no confirmation yet, but yeah, there are talks that Senator Chis Escudero will preside the trial. Hindi ibig sabihin siya yung magiging Senate President, because there's a Senate resolution naman that the Senate can elect whoever presiding officer in the impeachment trial. Now, why am I asking this? What is your reaction on this, given that Senator Chis Escudero carries the baggage of failure to convene right away the impeachment court last year?
Well, it's already water under the bridge, right? Because even the Supreme Court has already said with the ruling, Duterte versus the House of Representatives, that though the House is given the mandate to initiate the impeachment process, but the House needs to observe due process. So they came out with that resolution. And so I guess the Chis Escudero, that this is an internal discussion and a decision that the Senate would have to arrive at, and it's an internal matter for the Senate to decide on. But you know, Senator Chis Escudero is a lawyer, so I would still also expect, since the trial, impeachment trial would be, yes, it's a sui generis, it's one of its kind, but it's a combination, I'd agree that it's a combination of political, but there's still also that legal component there that, to me, in my humble opinion, a lawyer who would be better to preside over the trial. So that's internal to the Senate, but my own interpretation is that if there's going to be a presiding officer, it should be a lawyer. Because remember, since you go back to your previous question, how come the House prosecution team did not submit its pleading or comments or answers to comments to the answer of the defense? It's basically because of non-answer, no? And so I would expect, and we would expect, that once the trial comes to a full-blown scenario, the House prosecution or the court itself would be hounded by a lot of objections, technical objections, since they don't have anything to offer to counter the evidence of the prosecution. So we would expect a lot of objections, motion to strike, etc. So it's going to be a technical proceeding, a trial. It would be for the people to get more technical and legal nuances and jargons.
Well, the reason
So
why
it's better that the presiding officer is also akin to all of the all of the legal technicalities.
So whoever presides,
to better assist the trial.
right? So whoever presides the impeachment trial is okay with the group. I mean, I know it's not your call, but you know your comments on that, because how significant, no, the leadership or the presiding officer will be in the incoming impeachment trial in terms of how the trial will go, which evidence should open, etc.
Yeah. Well, again, the House prosecution team will comply whatever is the decision of the court.
Okay.
And so, if, for example, a presiding officer might not necessarily be the acting Senate President, which in this case, Senator Win Gatchalian, we would still respect that. We will leave it to the Senate to decide among themselves who is going to be. What is important to us, Angela, is that we proceed right away with the trial, because the country deserves a full-blown trial, and they deserve this trial to happen the soonest possible
And
time.
in terms of preparation, everything is prepared already for the trial, the House prosecution panel.
Yeah, as far as the House prosecution team is concerned, yeah, everything is well prepared. We just currently we're just on the process of evaluating those who have come out and approached the public prosecutor to be part of the private prosecution panel. So we're still on the point of evaluating and assessing the private lawyers to be included as part of the private prosecution team.
Kong, I want to park the impeachment issue talks for a bit, and I want to ask you about the ongoing Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, and of course the alleged bagman of former Speaker Martin Romualdez, who is also accusing you part of receiving maletas. You are planning to file a case. What is the update
Actually,
on that?
Angela, it came out months ago with the affidavit. Diba? They had several press conferences with the media. And then initially, I brushed it off. I didn't pay much attention to it because it's too ridiculous to even, to even focus on this kind of allegations. So it's preposterous, no? It's to a point that you don't need answers. Yun ang palagay ko eh. Parang how can I even answer with itong sobrang preposterous. So and then I only just decided when they came out in the Senate, no? And then again, with the issue, the question of validity of the committee hearing, that's another discussion. But my point is that now they are trying to use the Senate as their platform for their lies. And if you go to their affidavits, it's not only me, but there are several individuals and personalities mentioned there that were not even serving as a member of the House in the previous Congress. So how can they be part of the list of individuals who would receive certain luggage stacked with money? For example, Congressman Terry Redon was not even a member of the House. Congresswoman Laila De Lima was not even a member of the House then. So what's the dealing between and among Senator De Lima, Congresswoman De Lima, Congressman Terry Redon with that of Zaldico? So, di ba?
Well, taking away De Lima and Terry Redon in the list, let's be fair also, at that time when former Speaker Martin Romualdez was the Speaker at the House, it was also tainted with bad reputation.
But then again, would that also give full credence and validity over the affidavit of the 18 Marines? That's a separate issue altogether, because the flood control has already taken its course. We already seen the investigation of the independent infra commission, and the ombudsman also has taken jurisdiction over these matters. And so I guess there's that way for it to move forward if we just allow the certain agencies that is mandated, duty-bound, to investigate and to come up with the resolution. So, meron na ngang pangalan na yan na ma-mention, meron na nga pangang na-aresto with the flood control situation. So, going back to the affidavit of the 18 Marines, which, by the way, the AFP is denouncing them. They don't want to be called 18 Marines.
So, what do you think is the best term for them?
I think Senator Tulfo came out with the perfect description, bagman. Because there's not... they're nothing but just bagman kasi nagdi-deliver daw sila. So yes, I am contemplating this time of really filing a serious charges against them, because this is not no longer an individual fight. It also drag on the institution, the Senate. No?
Okay. Kong, I have a few more questions before we let you go. Of course, do you believe that this is politically motivated? Because you were part of the congressmen who voted for impeachment. But here you are, Congressman Alvarez, diba, went to the Senate and said na kasama siya dito, pero hindi siya bumoto sa impeachment. Kaya daw siya kasama doon sa list ng bagman.
What he said, well, I applaud Congressman Alvarez. Had we known that there's going to be a blue ribbon at saka kung available kami, in fact, maraming gustong sumama kay Congressman Alvarez. So I laud him, because the reason why his name was included now in the list, it's because he was offered, he was asked to endorse an impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos. When he refused, suddenly his name was included. So that's his narration. Kaya sabi niya, nagugulat ako eh. And pumunta nga siya doon. That's why when I got interviewed a day after that, ang sabi ko, you know what? If the 18 individual, well, Marines, sorry pero that's how the public knew them. If the 18 Marines would be willing to appear before the Blue Ribbon Committee, whoever is the chairman, that does not matter to me. Whoever sits there as chairman of the Blue Ribbon, if they're going to appear, I will definitely appear, and I will waive the parliamentary courtesy, because I want to face my accusers. Tell me straight to my face, when did you deliver this to the House of Representatives? Ang dami-daming CCTV doon na camera. Tapos sasabihin nila sa affidavit nila, hindi na daw nila nakita yung eksaktong tumanggap. Basta ang in-order sa kanila is i-deliver mo ito kay ganito ang pangalan, tapos na. I mean, for an ordinary person to be given that instruction, and we're talking about luggage stacked with money, 20 million. Ano ba sabi niya? 35 daw. ibibigay mo lang doon
Okay.
without even ensuring na natanggap ito. Wala man lang acknowledgement receipt na na-receive ito. Kung ako si Saldi ko, sasampalin ko yung mga yun kasi hindi pala yung ginagawa yung trabaho niyo, di ba?
Well, I have a lot of questions to you, but unfortunately, we don't have much time. So hopefully, we can still invite you again
Okay,
and
of
talk
course, yeah.
more about
Yeah.
issues. Thank you so much for your time. Lanao del Sur First District Representative Zia Alonto Adyong. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good
Angela.
morning.
Thank you.
More matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The country's unemployment rate stood at 4.7% in April, lower than the 5.8% recorded in January. And for more details, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Fatima Baduria. Fatima, ano ba yung mga factors na nag-contribute sa mas mababang unemployment rate ngayong April o nitong April?
Angela, Cheska, Pauline, nasa 2.41 million nga ang bilang ng mga walang trabaho noong Abril 2026, katumbas yan ng 4.7 na unemployment rate ayon sa Philippine Statistics Authority. Mas mababa ito no kumpara sa 2.58 million o 5% na unemployment rate noong Marso, pero mas mataas sa 2.06 million o 4.1% noong Abril ng nakaraang taon. Nakitaan ng pinakamalaking pagbaba sa employment ang sektor ng wholesale and retail trade ng repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles. Nasa 450,000 yung pagkabawasan dito sa sektor na ito kumpara noong nakaraang taon. So dahil daw yan sa pagtaas ng mga presyo ng mga materyales na kakailanganin pagdating sa retail, ayon yan sa PSA. Pangalawa, ang sektor na talagang nakitaan ng mataas na pagbaba sa employment ay yung agrikultura na may 392,000 na kabawasan dahil bumaba raw yung mga nagtatanim ng mga crops kabilang yung mais at iba't ibang mga gulay. Ganun din yung bilang ng mga mangingisda. Nabawasan ng 155,000 kumpara noong nakaraang taon. So makikita natin sa datos na apektado yung mga industriya dahil nga sa krisis sa Middle East at sa energy crisis. Tumaas din sa 7.41 million o 15.2% ang underemployed o yung mga taong may trabaho pero naghahanap ng karagdagang
karagdagang trabaho o mas marami pang oras ng trabaho. Noong Marso, nasa 6.03 milyon o 12.3% ang underemployment rate. So nakikita natin na dumarami pa yung mga naghahanap ng karagdagan pang trabaho at ayon kay PSA USEC Claire Dennis Mapa ay karamihan sa mga nakitaan na tumaas yung underemployment ay galing sa transportation o doon sa mga driver ng jeep at taxi driver. So dahil pa rin yan sa crisis, sa energy crisis. Pauline.
Yeah. Aside from what you've mentioned earlier, what are the other factors that contribute to the high unemployment rate? Is skills match setting is still a problem here, Fatima?
Angela, ang talagang nabanggit ni USEC Claire Dennis Mapa ay dahil nga dito sa Middle East crisis. So makikita natin yung mga sektor na talagang apekto ay yung mga repair ng motor vehicles, yung mga nasa agriculture at fishery. So yun talaga yung mga dahil nga sa epekto din ng Middle East crisis. At bukod dyan, nakitaan din na year on year tumaas yung unemployment rate, no, dahil 276,000 daw yung naghahanap ng trabaho at 81,000 yung naghihintay pa lang na makarinig mula sa mga pinag-applyan nila. So isa rin yan doon sa mga nakakaapekto, Angela.
Fatima, nabanggit mo rin na bumaba yung nagtatanim ng crops, pati yung fishermen natin. Meron din kasing balita na yun na nga, may papasok din na El Nino. How do you think this will affect yung mga natitira nating mga agriculture, the farmers and the fishermen?
Cheska, ayan nga nabanggit ni USEC Mapa, no, talagang inaasahan nila na makakaapekto itong inaasahang pagdating ng El Nino sa agriculture sector. So sunod-sunod, no, dahil noong mga nakaraan din naman daw talagang nakikita nila na naaapektuhan yung mga magsasaka dahil sa El Nino noong mga nakaraan yan, no. Pero sa ngayon daw ay hinihintay pa dahil itong datos ay noon pang Abril. So aabangan din natin yung mga susunod na report, Cheska.
All right, well, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Fatima Baduria.
In other news, the Sandigan Bayan continues proceedings on the malversation case against former Senator Bong Revilla. For the details, let's bring in mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, what's happening there?
Angela, magandang umaga. Ilang minuto pa lamang ang nakalilipas mula nga nang natapos ang pagdinig ng 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan para yan sa malversation through falsification of public documents na kaso ni na dating Senador Bong Revilla at dating mga opisyal ng Department of Public Works and Highways sa Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office. No, alam nyo, Angela, naging mabilis lamang yung pagpresenta ng witness ng prosecution ngayong araw kung saan humarap nga si Ginoong Ralph Kawaling, ang Director ng Information Management Service ng DPWH Central Office. At dito nga ay hindi naman nag-cross-examine yung depensa at tinanong na lamang ng mga hukom kung paano nga ba pumapasok yung mga impormasyon doon sa tinatawag na PCMA. Ito yung Project and Contract Management Application na ginagamit nga para i-track ng DPWH yung mga civil works mula 2016 onwards. At kasama nga sa mga natanong kung sino nga ba yung nagpapasok ng mga impormasyon doon dahil alam naman natin na yung subject project ng malversation case ni Revilla ay naipasok sa pamamagitan ng isang errata or yung inihabol na revision ng budget ng DPWH noong 2025. So nung napasok ito sa GAA at nailabas nga yung pondo, kailangan kasing ma-monitor ito, pero meron kasing on the other side, meron kasing kailangan na time to time or monthly or quarterly na record na inilalagay dito sa PCMA para nga masigurado na walang irregularidad o walang issue yung mga public works project, pero nga ito ay nabisto na non-existent, kaya mahalaga raw na matignan kung ano nga yung naging laman at sino yung naglalagay ng update dito sa PCMA gayong nabisto nga na non-existent o umunoy Ghost Flood Control Project ang pamahalaan. Ayon kay Kawaling, Angela, ay hindi raw nila matutukoy kung sino mismo yung naglagay ng information na yon, pero meron daw audit log na pwedeng makita kung sino nga yung nag-edit man. Pero hindi yan naibigay ngayon sa korte, kaya hiniling na lamang ni Justice Fritz de los Santos dito sa 3rd Division na ipasa nga ito sa paparating pang mga pagdinig. Angela.
Well, what is the timeline of this case? We have been covering the hearings of this case of Senator or former Senator Bong Revilla. At which point are we now in the case?
Well, so far ngayon, Angela, ito ay formal trial na, no? Kung saan nga may pagkakataon yung mga depensa na yung part ng defense ni Senador Revilla at ng mga kapwa-akusado nito na tanungin yung mga testigo ng prosekusyon para malaman yung kanilang involvement dito, no? So far may mga stipulations and counter stipulations at merong mga ini-stipulate yung defense na sinasabi yung ilan sa mga witness dito ay hindi nga raw or wala raw na direct knowledge doon sa implementation at pagpasok ng subject project doon sa Bulacan, no, na nabisto ngang non-existent. Pero kasi yung prosecution ng kanilang naging taktika dito, nakikita natin so far, nais talaga nila ipaunawa doon sa mga hukom ng 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan kung paano nga ba gumugulong yung mga proyekto at naipapasok at napopondohan para nga ma-breach kung paano na kagaya nito, no, na peke umano yung mga dokumento kahit na merong napaka-stricto na proseso para nga mailabas yung pondo dito, no. So far, trial stage na to, Angela, pero kabukod dyan, meron pa tayong isang inaabangan, yung desisyon naman ng bail hearing ni Revilla, bail petition rather ni Revilla, na kung saan nga may another 30 days na extension nga, no, bago magdesisyon yung mga korte dito. Tinanong natin yung abogado ni Revilla na si Attorney Rodi, no, Palisi, ayon sa kanila, wala raw sila magagawa kundi maghintay sa desisyon ng korte. Ayan kasi ay itong malversation ay non-bailable case pero pwedeng mag-file ng petisyon kung mabigat nga ba yung ebidensya o yung possibility or evidence ng guilt para mabigyan or ma-deny yung hiling na pansamantalang paglaya ni Revilla. Angela.
All right, thank you so much, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
At this point, let's check the situation at General Santos City following the magnitude 7.8 earthquake. We have mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw on the ground. Daniel, kamusta ang sitwasyon dyan?
Okay, we're to get in touch with Daniel. We're having a difficulty because since yesterday, ang usapin ng kuryente, communication, water ay talagang mahirap doon sa area. Mostly affected areas na tulad ng General Santos. And we have yet to see kung ano yung mga updates doon. But kanina nga, we were able to talk to the OCD, si Sir Juni Castillo, and he said that there are 30 plus that already dead and some other missing. And hindi natin alam, may iba pang mga kaanak kasi nang lumalapit sa kanila na nawawala, and most probably sabi nila kung baka pwede sila matulungan mahanap yung kanilang mga kaanak doon sa nangyaring lindol.
And yun na nga, we have government agencies on the ground also, and marami ng ginagawang paraan because again, communication is one of the most vital aspects of rescue and relief operations. So I think pati yung DICT is coordinating with the OCD as well.
We will actually get to speak to the Office of Civil Defense in just a few minutes. We'll get to interview Sir Juni Castillo here on the program. But as we mentioned, this period is very critical for rescuers. The first 24 to 48 hours, if they're still searching for survivors, especially those in the buildings that collapsed, eventually search and rescue operations will turn into search and retrieval operations. Pero hopefully, marami pa po tayong mahanap na ating mga kapatid. But nonetheless, of course, to all the residents in Mindanao, please stay alert because there are still a lot of aftershocks being recorded following the 7.8 magnitude earthquake. The strongest one was 6.7, so medyo malakas pa rin yun.
Yes. All right, I think we have Daniel on the line already. Daniel, are you there?
Pauline, Angela, and Cheska, isang araw nga matapos yan naginang 7.8 magnitude na lindol itong General Santos City, baka sa bawat lugar ang tindi ng pinsala na siyang nakakaapekto sa libo-libong residente dito ngayon. Alam mo, Pauline, ayon sa ilang mga nakausap ko, ramdam na ramdam pa rin daw nila ang takot na iniwan ng lindol. Kagaya na lang nga ng pamilya ni Luz Biminda na dito natulog sa labas dahil natatakot sila na mag-collapse yung building nila. So makakapanayam natin siya ngayon. Ma'am, ano po ba yung pakiramdam nung lumindol kahapon?
Sobrang nakakatakot po. Mixed emotion po kasi gumising kami ng maaga dahil nga graduation ng anak ko. Tapos sa side ko po, nandyan pa rin yung Anxiety ko galing po kasi ako ng Kuwait, ma'am. Nag-flight ako nung dumating ako dito nung 6. Andun na ba yung anxiety ko dahil sa mga pangyayari doon sa Kuwait dahil sa giyera po. Umalis po ako ng bansang Kuwait 4. Nung 3 pa lang, binomba na yung airport. So, sinunod po kayo ng lindol dito pagkatapos? Oo. So, akala ko pagdating dito kahit papaano ma-refresh ako sa mga anxiety ko doon sa Kuwait. Tapos excited ako sa graduation ng anak ko kahapon. So, kahapon maaga kaming gumising kasi nga para mag-ready. Okay. Sige po. Thank you po, ma'am. Yun nga, Pauline, Angela, Cheska, sinabi nga ni Ma'am Luz Veminda na mataas nga ang emosyon nila dahil dapat ay graduation ng anak. So, kung i-describe daw nila itong naging lindol, parang tinutulak, inaalon at dinuduyan ng malakas. Yung iba nga, nahihirapan din daw tumayo at maraming nawawalan ng malay dahil yumayinig nga yung lupa ng halos 1 minute daw. At matapos naman ng lindol, Angela, Pauline, ay nawalan daw agad ng kuryente at maging ang kanilang tubig ay hindi rin mainom hanggang ngayon. Kaya umaasa sila sa magiging ayuda nga ng DSWD. At kaya naman agad nag-anunsyo ang lokal na pamahalaan na suspendido nga muna ang pasok sa trabaho at eskwela. So sa ngayon, nakausap ko din ang City Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office ng General Santos City at tinatayang 66 ang nasirang establishmento. Karamihan dyan, eskwelahan, hotel at mall at umabot sa halos 144 ang sugatan at 30 naman ang nakumpirmang wala ng buhay. So sa ngayon, magkakaroon daw ulit ng search and rescue operation sa isang gumuhong building kung saan 2 pa raw ang walang buhay na kukuhanin. At meron ding 2 casualty ng drowning incident sa water park na hanggang ngayon ay pinaghahanap pa ng rescue team. Pauline.
All right, thank you for the updates, mobile journalist Daniel Dayao. Stay tuned, Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Good morning, I'm Cheska Liton-Calao. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. At least 37 people have died following the magnitude 7.8 earthquake that struck off the coast of Mindanao. The Office of Civil Defense says 33 deaths were reported in Soxargen, while 4 were recorded in the Davao region. In Region 12, 18 of the fatalities were from Sarangani, 12 from General Santos City, and 3 from South Cotabato. Authorities say the figures are still being validated as search, rescue, and damage assessment operations continue in the hard-hit areas.
And now let's get more updates from Office of Civil Defense spokesperson Sir Juni Castillo. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us here on the program.
Good morning, Pavi. Good morning, Angela. Good morning to our viewers. Good morning.
Sir,
Good morning
can you
to our
hear us
viewers.
okay?
And yes, we can hear you, Pavi and Angela. And good morning to our viewers.
All right, sir. First of all, umabot na po sa mahigit 30 ang bilang ng mga nasawi because of this earthquake. Pero ano na po ba ang latest official and verified count ng mga namatay, nasugatan at mga nawawala po as of this morning?
As of this morning, Pavi and Angela, we have a total count of 37 that is being validated by the management of the dead and missing cluster. As the report says, 33 of these are coming from Region 12 and 4 from Region 11. With the injured, we have a total of so far, we have we're just verifying if this count will be increasing, or if this is the count as of now. Because as of last night, we have a 400 plus injured and then 4 missing. But as we speak, Pawi and Angela, there is an ongoing coordination meeting with the interagency coordinating cell of the NRIMC, where all these reports are being verified and validated.
Sir Juni, this is Cheska. Matanong lang po, were there any survivors rescued from collapsed structures overnight? And nasa active rescue phase pa po ba ang operations ninyo?
Cheska, yes, meron pa pong search and rescue. There's a retrieval already, dahil nga dun sa mga kababayan na hindi pinalad na makaligtas, pero the search and rescue is still ongoing, involving our local DRN workers as well as the local personnel of our national government agencies that are assigned to these areas.
Mm-hmm. Sir, so far mayroong mga lugar pa po ba na hirap marating ang mga responders?
Right now, we're about to get that information as we speak dahil ongoing itong kausap natin yung mga regional offices. Pero po kahapon kasi may mga reports that there are bridges, 5 bridges of which are reported damage and 19 roads. This is in the Region 12 alone. But in terms of, as of yesterday, though we're getting again that information, updated one from the SWD. As of yesterday, because of the prepositioned food and non-food items, we are not seeing a deficiency or difficulty in reaching out those areas because if bridges collapse, so it's the supply from the other side of the road ang manggagaling na regions and municipalities. So we will get that information kung meron pa bang as of now ay hindi pa marating na mga lugar.
Sir, in terms of power and communications, meron pa po bang areas na hindi pa fully restored?
Cheska, yes, meron pa rin Jensan, Sarangani, So kasama rin natin ngayon dito sa isinasagawang meeting ay ang Department of Energy, wherein we'll get that report, their consolidated report kung ilang percent na po yung na-restore na power. But as of yesterday, we have initial reports that there were 4 power facilities, and then including also gasoline stations, where the supply of fuel will be coming from. So actually, since yesterday, and then up to today, OCD is helping out in terms of logistics requirements and coordination, fuel supply augmentation, and then generator set augmentation to critical facilities like hospitals.
Pero sir, when can we expect full restoration of power lines and communication lines, especially for hospitals, sir? I know they're already being prioritized, but what is the current situation of our health facilities, especially in affected areas?
Especially in General Santos City, our administrator, Yusek Harold Cabreros, was physically there since yesterday. They visited the hospital in General Santos City, where the patients are housed through tents outside of the building because of the aftershocks, and then the ongoing structural integrity assessment also. In terms of the timeline, we couldn't give that timeline yet, or as far as the information that are within me right now. But we're getting that from the Department of Energy, who is in charge of the restoration of these facilities.
Sir, I'm sure there are many people who want to return to their homes, pero ano po yung mga kailangan tignan, kailangan i-check in terms of structural integrity? Ano po yung guidance na binibigay ninyo?
That's right. This is really very important information to our kababayans. Sa ating pong mga kababayan, ang sinasabi po natin, napakahalaga na tingnan yung kalagayan ng inyong mga bahay, or if this is condominiums, yung mga gusali. Mahalaga po kasi na may tumingin na eksperto o mga local DRRM workers or mga safety officers doon sa mga bahay kung kayo ay plano niyong bumalik. Napakahalaga kasi tinitingnan kung yung poste or yung biga, or yung mga beams, and posts, columns, ay kung meron po itong damage. Mahalaga po na may tumingin muna dito bago po kayo bumalik sa loob, para mas masiguro po natin kung magagamit pa ba or hindi na, kung ito man po ay gusali or inyo pong mga bahay.
Pero right now, sir, would you say na manageable pa rin po kahit papano ang sitwasyon sa mga LGUs? And ano yung magiging indication na kakailanganin na ng intervention from the national government? As of now, ano po ba yung mga concerns na inilalapit ng mga local governments sa pamahalaan?
Sa ngayon po, itong immediate muna na mga pangangailangan like the food and the non-food items, which hindi pa naman po tinitingnan na kukulangin, and because of our preposition resources, we're able to do that. Pagdating naman po dun sa search, rescue, and retrieval, this is taken care of po by the local and the local personnel of the NGAs assigned there. Pero po, naka-standby na yung mga regional and even some other areas ng LGUs and the national government to augment if in case they would need it or they would need reinforcements, and then ganun din yung mga rerelyebo. So naka-standby na itong mga resources natin na ganito. So far, if your question ay kung kaya pa ng LGU, this is still led, the response operations is being led still by the local DRRM councils and offices with augmentation from the regional and central office.
Sir, in terms of coordinating with government agencies, yung DICT, of course, were you able to coordinate with them regarding restoring communications? Meron yatang Starlink pa na dinala?
Tama po. Ito pong ating response clusters, 15 of those include ito nga pong emergency telecommunications cluster, which is led by DICT, para po makapag-provide ng mga internet facilities, charging facilities also, para dun sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga nasa evacuation center, para po makontak din nila yung kanilang mga kamag-anak, para masabi yung kanilang situation. And then ganun din po, not just for the emergency telecommunications, also the other clusters, medical or the health cluster led by DOH, also the debris clearing and civil works led by DPWH. Lahat po ito ng mga ENSA ay inatasan po ng ating Pangulo na kahit po nandun ang first responders pa rin natin ay mga lokal na pamahalaan, ay nandun na rin po ang mga ating mga national government agencies para po mag-augment doon sa ating mga lokal na pamahalaan.
Sir, when it comes to search and rescue operations, how critical is the first 24 to 48 hours? At hanggang kailan po ba magtutuloy itong operasyon? At kailan rin po ito mag-shift to search and retrieval operations?
Since yesterday, the operations that has been conducted is the search, rescue, and retrieval. So there will not be a transition, a formal declaration yet if this will be purely retrieval. Right now, it has been 24 hours. We really hope that those so far, kasi as of last night, there were 4 reported missing. So we still hope that we'll be able to get them safely. So the ongoing operations is search, rescue, and retrieval. And even after like what happened in Pampanga, even after a week, the ongoing operation is still search, rescue, and retrieval.
And then, sir, for the evacuation centers, do we have a number on how many evacuees are in these centers?
Yes, actually, the DSWD has just reported. Let me just get that images. The numbers coming from the DSWD reports, because according to the DSWD, aside from the food and non-food items, all of those reports. Let me just get that number. So far, the number of evacuation centers reported by DSWD, there are 54 evacuation centers housing 8,721 families. So this is composed of 31,000 individuals na mga kababayan natin na nasa loob ng evacuation centers. These are coming from regions 9, 11, and region 12. They are being taken care of the coordination and the camp coordination and camp management, a cluster led by DSWD.
And sir, following this 7.8 magnitude earthquake, may nakita po ba ang OCD na kahit anong aral po o kakulangan sa ating disaster response na dapat matugunan?
If when it comes to a disaster response, one thing still is still the one we're looking into the inventory, inventory of all the response resources that we have, both from the local and from the government agencies, from the NGAs. That is one. Inventory in terms of where these resources are and where they are prepositioned. That is one. Although in terms of prepositioning the food and the non-food items, we have strategies now on doing that. But in terms of the other equipment also, from all the other clusters, that's one. And aside from disaster response, we're looking into the lessons of really on the disaster preparedness. Like right now, we're seeing higher magnitudes like the 7.8 magnitude that happened yesterday. Our recent structural code of the Philippines, if followed, that ensures us at least higher chances of being saved from magnitude 8 earthquakes. So yun po, kailangan talaga natin maghabol doon, doon sa mga implementation of the National Building Code and Structural Code para po mas itaas na yung quality of our structures. Again, we're speaking of tamang disenyo, tamang materyales, tamang pagkakagawa ng ating mga infrastructure that could withstand a magnitude 8 earthquake.
Sir, who should take the lead? Which agency should take the lead in ensuring that buildings and structures could withstand an 8.0 magnitude earthquake?
When it comes to the implementation of the structural code and the national building code, it will be the clusters on infrastructure. We have, of course, the DPWH, the national government and regional government offices, and as well as local also. Plus the local government units. Our coordinations with the local government unit is very important because they are the ones issuing the building permits, the occupancy permits of the buildings and the structures, no, and then including also the regulations on our Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board. So those sort of things, no. So it's really a collective effort, no, from different government agencies. And right now, no, we're getting support from organizations also, like with the drafting of the Structural Code of the Philippines. We have the Association of Structural Engineers of the Philippines. We also have the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers. So it's really both a public and private partnership for these implementations.
All right. Well, thank you very much for all those updates and for joining us this morning. That was Office of Civil Defense spokesperson Judy Castillo. But don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Keep it here. Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters. All right, and that's it for today's news. But before we go, of course, we have to talk about our key takeaways for today. Cheska, do you want to...
Very heavy news all over the Philippines. Again, we are praying for our countrymen that are affected by the massive earthquake, and also the parents and the loved ones of the players from Ateneo.
Right. And aside from that, also we talked about Congressman Zia Alonto Adyong was here, and we talked about the impeachment trial, his involvement allegedly in the receiving maleta, diba, alleged by the 18 bagmen, supposedly of former Speaker Martin Romualdez. So these are the the things that we talked about earlier.
Hopefully tomorrow will be a better day for the country. But that's it for us here on Morning Matters this Tuesday.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cheska Litancalo.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa.
Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides,
all the time.